Well, the 11 a.m. advisory is in on Hurricane Lee, and a few changes to make note of from the 5 a.m. advisory earlier this morning. So as you can see, Hurricane Lee is now a Category 4 hurricane, but we're still kind of treating it like a Category 5 hurricane. So as you can see, winds are 155 miles an hour, which is 10 miles an hour down from the 165 that we did have at the 5 a.m. advisory. So that is showing signs of weakening, but in the Saffir-Simpson scale that we use to measure the winds and categorize our hurricanes, 157 miles an hour is the criteria for a Category 5 hurricane, and we are on the very upper edge of Category 4 territory right there. Also worth noting, an increase in pressure of about 16 millibars from the 926 that we did have this morning all the way up to 942. So Lee is still making its way through the central Atlantic Ocean, kind of into the northern or northeastern part of the Caribbean Sea around the Lesser Antilles, as you see over there on the left end of the screen, those Leeward Islands, the United States Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola areas that will be very close. Might even see some of the outer bands of rain from this major hurricane. As you can see, it's moving west-northwest at 13 miles an hour. So here's kind of the time frame as we go through the next week. Expected to move north of those islands I just mentioned, and each and every day through the weekend, maintaining that Category 4 status right there as a major hurricane. And then the cone kind of widening out, a little bit of discrepancy amongst what it's going to do as we start next week around Tuesday and Wednesday morning, but still no disagreement amongst the strength of this hurricane as it continues to trek through the Atlantic Ocean right here. So as you can see, the warm sea surface temperatures are in part for all this rapid intensification. We have seen Lee go from a Category 1 to a Category 5 hurricane in a matter of 24 to 36 hours. So that is all due to these warm sea surface temperatures. You see it's the Gulf of Mexico right here, but it's also warm right over here in the Atlantic Ocean. Some of those darker colors right there that you can see around the Bahamas right there. So where is Lee going to track, and is it going to have any effects for us here in central Georgia or anywhere in the southeast? As you see, it is a lot of agreement amongst, this is the Euro ensemble model, this spaghetti plot right here. You can see going in that west-northwestern direction, north of the Caribbean Sea, and then east of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, areas like that. And once it gets over there around midweek next week, all models are pointing at a northerly turn up into the Atlantic Ocean, so kind of towards the Bermuda area, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, but not making impact anywhere near the eastern part of the United States. Here's the GFS model, a similar track, that northerly turn, and going on up, you can see Bermuda, that little speck right there. So Bermuda expecting to see some of the effects of some of the outer bands of rain, or even closer in towards where the eye of this hurricane is. But this hurricane also just expected to make that northerly turn and make its way up to what could eventually get into the northeast coast of the United States. Now, while this is not expected to track anywhere near us here in central Georgia or in the southeast, it is worth noting that the eastern seaboard of the United States will see major waves and major ocean currents as an effect of these winds that are so far offshore, showing the power that this Category 4 or basically Category 5 storm will have. So what is going to cause this storm to take that easterly turn, or go up north, as I should say, into the northeast part of the United States? Well, it's all going to depend on these two synoptic features right here. This trough right here that you can see displayed across the eastern part of the United States, and also this high pressure center right over here that is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So if we do have a weaker trough and that high pressure does dominate in force, we are looking at this to move closer to the coast and move on up towards into the northeast, the New England area of the United States. So we're talking areas like Boston, Cape Cod, all of those northeastern coastal cities in the United States, those Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, even getting on into Vermont and also Maine up there, maybe even the northeastern coast of Canada. Now, if we do have this trough dominate and continue to trek across the United States and push this way, we're looking at it to push Lee out into the sea and simply just be what we like to call a fish storm, only affecting the fish out there in the middle of the ocean. So that remains to be seen. This is about a week out, a week and a half ahead of time right now, so we will see what happens with these features as we progress through the next week, and what happens in terms of Lee, in terms of intensification, how strong it is as as it treks its way further and further closer to the eastern side of the United States. But after Hurricane Idalia the past week, we are very thankful that this is not going to affect us here in the southeast unless something very, very drastic occurs, which we do not see anywhere on our radar right now. But for now, we do have live graphics up on a live stream. Check it out on our YouTube. Check it out. The link is there on the web story here at 13WMAZ.com. But for your tropics update, I'm meteorologist Alex Fry.